You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North podcast, I got to thank my good friend, the mighty Eminem himself, Mr. Mickey Mickelson, for hooking me up with another super special, awesome human. Because my goodness, we got another Emmy Award-winning person for you today, folks. Another Emmy Award winner today, man. I can't freaking believe it, because today's guest in particular, she epitomizes the whole flower power counterculture of the 1960s and 70s, because she was the first woman, folks, the first woman to perform at the Woodstock Music Festival in the summer of 1969. She's recorded over 20, folks. You heard that right, folks. 20 chart hits that have hit the top of the charts, folks. And many have even been re-recorded. Heck, even on top of that, her wonderful Emmy Award was actually for composing the lyrics to the theme song for the hit television series of Beauty and the Beast. And the beautiful thing about this wonderful human right here is that audiences continue to welcome her to the stages, both physical and virtual, thanks to the evil pandemic, for over 50 years and counting, and she continues to play. So let's give it up for the one, the only Melanie Safka. How you doing today, Melanie?
Hi. Well, I was saying, a little stir crazy because we've been iced and snowed in. We haven't been able to get out, and we're in Nashville where they don't normally get this kind of weather. But I'm good. You know, we're working on putting on another live stream show at some point soon, in a couple of weeks, I guess. And I decided, well, you have to do something. You can't just give up. So we investigated different things. My son, who works with me, uh, got really good at visuals. I mean, he started studying all that kind of stuff. What do they call that? Anyway, green screen. In fact, there's a lot of talk about the things you can do with a green screen, but we got into that. So we did our first live stream show. I guess it was at least 3 weeks ago, and it was great. And again, I was telling you before that I'm a performer who really, I need the audience. I really need them there. I don't sort of slap a performance up on stage. I don't have my in between song patter rehearsed and down. One day my show could be 2.5 hours, and the next day could be 3 hours, and it's not a worked out. And now, ladies and gentlemen, no. So it was so different to look at a wall, just a wall, and know there are people out there, but to bring them into the room, it was a real trick. But I guess you adjust, you evolve or de-evolve, whatever you have to do to get it going right. But we're going to do another one. I was thinking of, while I was singing, the people were, the screen goes and there are things going by, and I kept wanting to glance over. My son was looking, and he'd say, "Hey, someone wants to hear such and such a song," and I thought, well, if I do this show's 3.5 hours. So I just I listen sometimes, but it's distracting, because while you're singing, you see these comments going by. And so I was thinking, next show, I think I'm going to gather up all the songs that your song is on there, then they can tune in and hear that. So I don't know how I'm going to work that, but I'm going to do that. And we took a video of one of my cats sleeping, just a sleeping cat in front of the fireplace. And she's old, she's over 20 years old. And I thought we'll use that as the backdrop of this next episode, and we'll call it The Cat's Meow. And we'll do a little series of call outs, and then maybe the next one will be a dog. I don't have the dog yet. My dog died, but I'm going to get another dog, and maybe it'll be the dog, or I don't know. But this one, the cat looks so great. I mean, very subtle little movements. You know, she once in a while she'll get up and turn in a circle and reposition herself, and she'll yawn. It's like nothing too distracting. I was sitting with my cat beside me. Well, she'll be on the green screen. She doesn't have to do anything. She's already done her part.
So it'll really be the cat's cradle, and will there be a silver spoon involved too?
Aw, no, I knew Harry Chapin. He was great.
Yes, indeed. Well, yeah, definitely. Evolution is definitely a must in today's society. And yeah, you're so right. It is hard to really perform when you truly like to be in the moment with the audience. So I'd have to say, probably you probably have to tap more into your creativity, especially with the cats. Do you think there might be even some more plans that'll wait for round two or round three of the wonderful online show of Melanie?
You know, I'm sure I'm going to get um, better at conjuring up the people that are out there, because that's sort of what you have to do, is conjure them up. And I hope it'll get better. I'm hoping that it all goes away and I can get out there and start singing in front of people again. But until it does, I'm doing it from home in front of a green screen. Now, again, we can put me anywhere. I could be at the Taj Mahal, but we won't do anything like that. I thought my cat would be a nice backdrop. Not too busy, you know. She doesn't move too much, so it's kind of a nice thing to have there in the middle of us. Bo is on one side, and the cat's in the middle, and then I'll be on the other side.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I'm gonna do. You know, the thing is about doing all call outs is that then you have to. Uh, do you do hits? I mean, it would be almost rude not to do some of the songs that people know you for, right?
Oh yeah, because they love the hits. That's why the game's like, oh, new stuff. It's like, oh, okay, all right. This one sounds good, but I don't know.
Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's so crazy. I mean, that's why we're in the predicament we're in, because music, it has so much to do with familiarity, and the industry knows this. So it used to be a business where music people who knew music, knew what made up a chord and a arpeggio and a melody, a counter melody, were in charge of the music business. And then at one point, it became a business where lawyers were infiltrating. And I was there at that very pivotal moment when I was signed by a music person at an A&R man named John Hammond, and he signed me to CBS Records. And then shortly after, just as my record was supposed to be released, Clive Davis came in, and he was the first time a lawyer was heading a record label. An interesting little thing happened. So now he didn't quite get me. Truly, he just didn't get me. I had a record out called, well, it wasn't out. It was about to be released, called Beautiful People. And he didn't service the radio stations. He had sent some promotional copies. Well, not he, but the original people at A&R sent copies to underground radio, and I was being played on pirate radio in England and the Netherlands, and then Brosco, a DJ in New York on WNEW FM, started playing Beautiful People just because he heard the record, he liked it, and he played it. And that was a time when DJs could hear a record and just play it because they liked it. You know, it was before central control of radio, before Clear Channel reared its head. And then when the industry became lawyer and business motivated rather than, oh, that record sounds like it's going to be a hit. My 16-year-old daughter liked it, and I'm sure let's dump some money into that and promote it, and it'll be a great success. But sometimes their investment didn't pay off. So then the industry decided at some point in a dark room, they decided to ensure that that record was going to be a hit. And how they do it is, first of all, it's an instant $300,000 to $500,000 investment, and it's played everywhere. It's played in the mall. It's played in your favorite hip clothing store. It's played in restaurants, and it's played finally on radio. And by the time you hear it on the radio, you're going to like it, because that little trick of familiarity, works. And by the time they've spent their $500,000, they know they're going to have a hit. It's not like it's not guesswork. So it was a way of ensuring the investment.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's really interesting how, heck, you're at that time where things really got, well, when the lawyers got involved. I guess the lawyers are the original marketers who would kill everything, I guess, right?
Well, marketing itself used to be the study of demographics and socioeconomic groups and what they would like and what they would gravitate toward. And then marketing became, we can create what they will like. We can manipulate people by just aligning certain things with what we want to sell. And if you buy these particular jeans and you buy those kind of boots and that kind of hair stuff, then you're going to buy this record. Isn't that frightening?
Yeah, it is.
It's highly scientific. The propaganda tools that they have and they're using are highly scientific. And they are working it. They are definitely working it.
Yeah, you can definitely see that again. So, with speaking of marketing, how are you able to really use that to your advantage to really continue to stay on top of what you do? I'm assuming you probably have your lovely family helping you out, including your son Bo with all the visuals and everything else.
Well, yeah, well, we're doing as much as we can creatively, but I've always been, I mean, after at a certain point, I didn't like how I was being manipulated to the public. I didn't sense that my messages weren't being communicated to people through the record labels. So I opened my own record label. I was the first female to ever open a record label, an independent label. And the only other group ever to open an independent label was the Beatles up until that point. And we opened a label called Neighborhood, my husband and I. And this was so we could have more creative control and do the music I wanted to do. And also, I was almost being forced to do a certain kind of music, and I really didn't want to feel like I was obliged to do what the record label told me to do. So we opened our own label. It was called Neighborhood, and we had Brand New Key. That was our first our first attempt, and bingo, we really scored with that one. It was a big one. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing. It really was. It was for as long as it went on. It was I was very naive because what I did was really fly in the face of the industry. And even the songs I wrote, look what they've done to my song, Ma, and Nickel song. They're only putting in a nickel and they want $1 song, things. I mean, the messages themselves in the music, but also the I really rubbed some people the wrong way. You don't realize, when you're doing things that you think are great and fun and full of excitement, that you're doing things that are going to doom you. I had no idea that I was, creating so many enemies without knowing it. But now we're still totally independent, and I don't have my own record label, but I am going to relaunch Neighborhood Records, and we'll see about that. That'll be exciting. I'm going to re-release Brand New Key and Gather Me, the album that it came from. It's the 50th anniversary. So I'm going to put out an anniversary collection, but it's all us. My family is my two daughters are busy. My daughter has 3 children, one of them, and the other one is in Arizona, and she's into all kinds of things. They're all musicians. They all sing. They all write. And Bo is we live here in the same house, and he's my writing partner, and we've been writing new songs. We're going to be releasing an album of new songs, and but it's just us so far. It's just us and Mickey. There have been times when my husband, who was producer of all my records, passed away about 10 years ago. My universe changed. I was never involved in the actual business. He did all of that stuff. If we moved, he took care of the move. If somebody passed away, he took care of the funeral. He passed away. I didn't know what to do. There was no Peter to ask, how do I do this? It was all this. I was in the deep end of a new era, and I was not privy to all the information that he was. And I really do wish he had told me more about what had been going on in the music business as far as any plight that we had. But he kept me protected, I guess. He was born in the Ukraine. He's very old school in music and in family things. You don't disturb the woman. So he didn't disturb the woman. And I mean, it was a blessing in that all those years I got to create without too much worry. But when he passed, it was a whole different universe. So we're navigating and learning about things and how to go about it. But fortunately, music is my motivation, and it is, without sounding too pompous, it's sacred.
Yes, indeed, a sacred thing indeed. And so sorry for the loss of your husband. No matter how many years it may have gone past the loss of someone special like that, it still got to
Yeah,
honor them.
did everything together. We were partners, and we were lived together. We had a family together. We were married for 47 years. So it was one of those long lasting ones. We were so different. That was what it was. We were like night and day. He was an extrovert, and I was an introvert, and he got me to the right places and went to the right parties. I mean, I just I'm still learning about what to do. I think of myself as the oldest little girl in the world.
That's nice. That's what I'm talking about. And the beautiful thing about that is that it allows you to really embrace the creativity that's probably all in the family. Because if I'm not mistaken, your father also played the saxophone, right?
Yep, my dad played the sax, and my mom was a jazz singer, and my uncle George was the vice president of the teachers union, and he sang songs of labor, and he sang a lot of Woody Guthrie songs, and so I had all these different musical influences. And my grandmother was from Italy, and we all lived in one big household, and there was always music, and she would break into some Italian song at any time. You never knew when. She would just, even on the street, we'd be walking down the street, and she'd just say, "Veni su, veni su," and and that's that. I had so many different kinds of musical influences that at first people said I was a folk singer because, well, I had long hair, um, and I had a guitar strapped to my back, so it must be folk music. But I won in Montreux. I won Jazz Singer of the Year because I sang with the black group and the Edwin Hawkins Singers. It must be jazz. So it was just it's so crazy, how people want to put you somewhere. But I was, genre wise, I was all over the map, you know. Billie Holiday was what I grew up with. And I think if there was one person that I wanted to sound like, would be a cross between Billie Holiday and Edith Piaf, something about the chanteuse, that was my music that I discovered myself. I grew up playing a baritone ukulele because that was what was available. But the ukulele had a vibe that when I was in my teens, I wanted to play a guitar because the ukulele was not hip at that time. Now it's very hip. Everybody plays the ukulele. There's the girl groups with the ukuleles, But then it just didn't hit me anymore. I wanted to play the guitar, and finally I got a guitar for a Christmas present. It was the most incredible thing ever. My father brought it to me at Christmas, and that's anyway. So I was called a folk singer because there she is with her guitar. But I mean, I had all these other influences, Kurt Weill, uh, Lachi Lenya, and just so many. I think the sad thing I think about marketing is that they have divided people in their musical genres. I think if people need to be exposed to all kinds of music, it's very important.
Yes, indeed. You could definitely say that again. And it's so good that you're able to get outside the box so many times that way and be awarded for for the jazz song,
I
especially
know.
like
I know. Well, this was in Switzerland, and here I am. I'm a white girl. There's big black chorus behind me. It must be jazz, So
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So my goodness. So with so with all of the wonderful awards that you've acquired, what do you think may have been the probably the most rewarding moment from inspiring the countless people that you've inspired so far with your art so far?
wow, creative moments. Well, I think one of the most inspiring things was to sing at the UN under the Angel of Peace, and to the General Assembly. I sang "Peace Will Come," and I got a standing ovation. Which was like, oh my gosh, I had always wanted to be a person who did something in the to serve people. Like to be in the Peace Corps, or somehow a social worker, or some form of helping. And my family, especially the leftist part of my family, thought, that it was a bit frivolous that I should be a celebrity. That I, it was just, my dad was proud of me. He was very proud. He was the capitalist. But my mother's side, which was the Italian labor union people, they were like their slogan was, the wheat that grows highest is always cut down. So that's kind of a dour, predicament to be in when you're a famous person. So I was always a little disappointed in myself that I didn't go into some sort of social work or the Peace Corps. They turned me down, by the way. I did apply, but they didn't need a folk singer at the time. Up until I sang at the UN, I thought, I am doing something. This is moving people in the right direction. So that, and I would say when Ray Charles sang "Look What They've Done to My Song, Ma," that was the moment of, I am a writer. These are realizations. I'm a writer, and Ray Charles sang my song. That means I can write songs that other people can sing. And Ray Charles, of all the people, I just, I was so flattered and honored that he did that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's right. R.I.P. to the legends, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's always got to feel good when you have moments like those and you realize, like, man, I'm actually making a difference here. My work is making a difference in someone's lives to get to this point here.
Yeah, it's amazing. In fact, the thing that really keeps me going is hearing from people. I mean, and that is although I hate Facebook, I really do. The whole social media is just takes your attention from creation to, I mean, the people you hear about now, especially independent people, are people who are really good at social media. They're better at social media than they are at their art. I mean, a lot of them anyway, because it's a whole other thing. You have to be your own promoter. When you're, and mostly people who create are not. That's not what they do the best, is promote. But it seems like the name of the game right now. And I don't know how I got into that. I was talking about something totally unrelated. What was I talking about? Uh, what was it? What was it? Where were we going? Do you remember?
Oh, we were going north. Don't worry. We always go north here.
Always going north. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, how do you feel? So, what keeps you really at this peak performance level as a performer? Because 50 years performing, my goodness, like not everybody can say that.
No, gosh, I certainly didn't think. I thought sure I was going to die young. You know, I was like, I'm so stressed all the time. I
Oh.
think I'm surely going to be one of those who drops my body early, but that didn't happen. And so now I'm worried that I'm not at performance level because, again, I always traveled, I always toured. You'd build up those road chops, like by, I'd lose my voice halfway through the tour, and then I'd go through it and go through it. And then by the end of the tour, I was a lion. I was really singing. And that's when would be the best time to record because you got these road chops with you. So I mean, now I'm turning into the 100-year-old woman. I don't know. I mean, it's very no, really. It's like in those mummy movies, and all of a sudden, they the real age of the person comes out. So I never really thought about my age, but since I've been locked away, I just sort of it seems to have been accelerating. So I'm just doing things like talking to you. You're going to keep me young.
Sweet.
Dom, you're going to keep me young, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am, indeed. I'm all about honoring those who've been on the planet for a while and still got some creativity to share with the planet.
Yeah, well, I never stopped writing. I have a bunch of new material I'm going to be putting on the, recording, and we'll be doing it. We'll keep doing it. But I mean, even things like, just getting your hair done and stuff like that, it falls by the wayside when you don't get out much.
Yeah, that was like the biggest thing at first. It's like, oh, wow. So this is day 5,000, even though it's day 7. Okay. Haven't left the
Yeah,
house yet. The boogeyman's
really crazy. I don't know. I don't know. Something's not right.
Oh, yeah, you could definitely say that again. But what's definitely right is the fact that you're still alive and well and still kicking. So, my goodness, my goodness. So, with all of these wonderful interviews you've done over the years, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Well, I was asked to write the lyrics to this theme for Beauty and the Beast, a TV show. And I was in Hollywood and I heard the melody and I instantly wrote the lyrics. I mean, they just flew off the top of my head. And I'm not one of these people who, you know, use the term craft, song craft. I mean, I just write a song, it just flies out of me. Sometimes I feel like it's almost like channeling or something, but songs just come to me. So the lyric just flew out of my existence, and the line was, the first time I loved forever. And I thought that was so good. Anyway, I wrote the lyric. I wrote 3 verses and a chorus, and I submitted it the next day. And that was my big mistake because the producer called and said, "Oh, Melanie, I don't think it has enough of the male point of view. It needs more of the male point of view. You only have the female point of view." And I went, okay. So I went back and I tried to put some more male point of view in there. And I submitted it again and said, no, we're gonna pass it by the director. And the director listened and he had some more comments. And weeks went by, and I felt like I was being tortured. And they just had everybody had a comment, and the now we have to run it by the actors and the actresses. And everybody had an opinion. Everybody had something that I needed to do in lyric. So I worked it and worked it and worked it. And this was before, you know, emails and computers. So I actually physically would hand lyrics in on my yellow legal pad. And I was getting to the point where I thought I was losing my mind. And I handed in my very first lyric. I knew it was the one, you know, in my, in, you know, in the place where you know, when you know, and I knew that that was perfect. It was just so pure and it just came out of me. And I knew it was right. And I submitted it again. I just rewrote it and put it down. And the next day I got a call from the producer. He said, Melanie, you see, all that hard work paid off. You finally got it. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Sweet. That's what I'm
Weeks
talking
and
about.
weeks of nothing, nothing, nothing. And they approved of the very first lyric that I handed in the day after I was asked to write the song. And then I won an Emmy for that. Of all things, I won an Emmy for it. And the motto of that story is if you're ever asked to do something for Hollywood, take a couple of weeks before you hand it in. They like to think you suffered over it, you know? They don't want to think it just flew out of you because you love life and you're a musician and you create things and you're having so much fun. They hate that. They want you to suffer a little bit. So
Yeah, man. Man, oh man. That's probably why they're getting it stuck to them right now, making people suffer.
oh yeah, yeah. That's it. How to make them suffer. Really. There's way too much of that.
Yeah, karma doesn't like that.
No, no.
But yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in the current year, with all of your amassed knowledge and wisdom, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would think not to take it all so seriously. Because when I first started out, all the criticism and, you know, you're a target when you're a number one artist, right? I mean, you are a target. And there are people who are jealous and there are people who don't think you're worthy and all that. And I think if I had been a little less hard on myself, I could have enjoyed a lot more years than I did. So I would say, you know, just not be hard on yourself and stay as true to yourself as you can. As me, I didn't sell out, you know, and I'm really grateful that I didn't get to do that because it was hard enough to do things night after night, get up in front of people and sing songs that I love. But if I had to get up in front of people and sing songs I didn't quite love, that would be that would have been bad. So I followed my own advice even at a young age, and I stayed as authentic as I could to who I was. And but the one thing I would wish I could have lightened up about took it all so serious. You know, if Rolling Stone wrote a bad review, in fact, they wrote with Candles in the Rain, oh, the Edwin Hawkins singers were great. And but when Melanie's voice comes on the record, it's like a fingernails scratching against chalkboard. That killed me, absolutely killed me. And it tainted my performance. I kept thinking about that, you know, like what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? But it wasn't me, you know, and I wish I could have just known that.
Oh, yeah. That probably goes back to what you mentioned a couple minutes ago about Hollywood making you want to suffer a bit. Like some people just want to make you feel like, hey, you know what? Let's just torture her for just for no
Yeah,
reason, just for
let's
no
see if we
reason.
can make her cry. Really, it's wild. You just have to know who you are, and if you like something, when I first heard the tracks and the take to uh, lay down, I was euphoric. I mean, it was so incredible. When we recorded that song, we never stopped. It went on for a whole 8 minutes, and it evolved into a different thing at the end, and it was just such a magical studio experience because having going to the studio, and it's a sterile atmosphere. When I first started recording, the guys in the booth in the engineering room were behind glass, of course, and they wore white lab coats. They were like the scientific technology people, and they even wore white lab coats, like a chemist. So it certainly has evolved, but it still had a element of sterility about it. So to have magic happen in the studio is uh, is a moment that I think the record communicates. I still I can hear the magic in that record.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And speaking of hearing the magic in that record and even more, so for those who want to hear more of Melanie's magic, what's the best way for folks to keep up with what you're doing?
I have a website, I have Instagram, I have Facebook, and I should have it written in front of me, but I don't. I just I have a silly note written here, a song that I'm about to write, and that's what I have. I do have a Patreon site that people can find me on, and hopefully support what I do. And I don't, you go to Patreon and look for Melanie.
Woohoo! Well, sounds like a treat. Well, there you have it, folks. Check out the wonderful, marvelous, magical Melanie and all the stuff that's going to be in the show notes to her site or Patreon page where you can keep track of all she's doing, support, and get some extra goodies that the outsiders don't get, folks. And you might even be able to hear that silly song that she wrote on a piece of paper. You never know.
Right, right. 'Cause, yes.
Sweet. So, any parting words before we close up the recording?
Um, I don't know. There's a line that I love that I'm gonna put it in a song, and it's my life, the story of my life is much too long and complicated, and most of it untrue.
Hey there, buddy. Looks like you made it to the end of this episode. Since you made it to the end of this episode, do both of us a favor and stop being greedy. Stop it right now and share this episode with your friends and your fellow podcast lovers, especially those who have book clubs and want to listen to the authors who write some amazing books.